Tires are a big deal if you're a racer. We use them really hard, looking for that last little bit of time. We fuss over a couple of tenths of a pound of air pressure, and we change tires out rapidly if we think that we're starting to lose performance. Even when we're driving, we worry about the condition of our tires because we're abusing them all the time. Sometimes we're finding the limit, sometimes we're running out of talent, but we're always worrying about our tires. So let's talk a little bit about these round black donuts today. Guys, welcome back. So as you can tell, we're talking about tires today, and I have a love-hate relationship with tires. I love driving a Kart that's got a brand new set of tires on them because they're fresh, they give you a lot of grip, you get more speed, all those kinds of things. But to get there, you've actually got to go and mount the tire onto the wheel. And I got to tell you something, I have a love-hate relationship with that. Mostly hate. I love driving on a Kart with fresh tires, but I hate mounting the tires on the wheel. I just don't like it. So as with anything, you just have to go and make sure you're using the right tools. The problem is that I have a history with these tires. Back when I was a teenager, I was busy trying to pop a tire off of a wheel, and the wrench slipped, caught me in the mouth, I spit out a tooth, and the next thing I knew, I'm sitting in a dentist chair getting my tooth capped. So there is a history there. I'm not too crazy about changing out these tires. However, I have learned over time that new tools have been developed. And so today we're going to talk about changing out a tire using a bead breaker, and then also using what's called a tire scissors. And been using a bead breaker for a long time, but I have not used tire scissors very much at all. So we're going to kind of learn about them together. Also, we're going to use something here that's basically a lubricant that you put on the tires to make it work. It's kind of like a really thick version of Vaseline. It's kind of funky stuff, but it works really, really well. The other thing that I would recommend when you go to inflate the tires for the first time and you want to go and bead the wheel up on the rim is use one of these. This is a wrap that goes around the outside of the tire. It's got a Velcro strip on the end of it, and it really seems to help with the inflation of the tires. So those are basically 4 different tools that you can use to make this experience a whole lot better. I think you can probably do a set of tires now in sort of 15 or 20 minutes. Now there's another product out there on the market called a turbo tire changer, and I've never used one of those, but I've seen videos of it. It looks pretty cool, and the good news is that my buddy Brian Mobley down in Houston has one, and so later in this video Brian's going to show us how the turbo tire changer works. Now the reason that I'm doing this, there's tons of really good videos out there on YouTube about how to change tires, and there certainly seems to be a lot of out on forums, a lot of questions from newcomers to the sport about how do you change a tire, how do you get this tire off of this rim. And while those videos on YouTube all do a great job, it's almost like you got to watch 4 or 5 of them to get the whole picture. And so what I'm trying to do is consolidate some of the best material from all of those videos and put it into one video so that you kind of have a one-stop shop for this. So that said, let's go ahead and get started on this, and let me show you what I've learned about how to change out these tires on these wheels. Okay, so the first thing you need to do when you're going to go and dismount the tire is you've got to remove the bead locks. Most karting wheels these days have bead locks, and basically what they do is they prevent the bead of the tire from sliding off of the rim. And in this case, what we have here are Allen screws that are basically 3 of them that are in the middle of the wheel, and you just got to take a wrench and back them out. Now I've got them finger tight here, so we can just back them out by hand, but when you first start off, you're going to have to use an Allen wrench. Okay, so all you're doing is you're just going to remove the screw like this. You just keep backing them out because you really don't want to try to break a bead with these screws sitting in here. You're going to damage a lot of stuff, including the wheel. You just don't want to do it. Sometimes, it's very rare, but sometimes you don't, you have a wheel that does not have those bead locks. You still have to let the air out before you try to go and break the bead. So you got to let all the air out of the tire. Obviously, when you take these screws out, we just did that. If you don't have bead locks, then you have to get a valve stem remover and remove the valve from the valve stem so that you have a way for the air to be let out. Okay, so we've got the air out of the tires. It's pretty flexible and mountable. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this tire into the bead breaker, because that's the next step. So put the tire inside the bead breaker like this, and you can see it goes all the way around just the outside of the rim. And then all we have to do, and we are done. Okay, so as you can see, we've popped the bead on this side. The sidewall of the tire is off of the lip of the rim. Same thing over here. Okay, so we've got it busted loose. Now the trick is we've got to get this sidewall up over on this side of the wheel. And what's interesting is that if you'll notice, this side, not only does it not have like a valve stem or anything like that, it's also not as deep as compared to this side that does have the valve stem and a lot more depth. So we want to work off of this side because it's just a shorter distance to go off of. Okay, so the tire scissors come in 3 pieces. You've got a disc that actually fits in the middle of the wheel like so. And then you've got the tire scissors themselves. You notice that you've got these black fixtures on this side. This is actually for the part for putting the new tire onto the wheel. And then there's nothing over here. So you want to go in with the black side up, okay, for the removal of the tire. So all you do, you take the scissors, you slide them in like that. It comes up on the top. You put this pin in, like so, and then you just twist the tire, and voila, pops right out, which is really cool. So now you flip the tire over, take the disc out. You still got to get the tire off on the other side. I'm not all that strong, so I use leverage for this. And what I do is I just take this tire tool, again, the scissors, slide it in, and then I just start working through it and bust it loose, and it'll pop right out. All right, so this is the tire that we just took off. And a couple things that I want to make a point about. People talk about tires losing their grip, and it's because the tire heats up and cools down and the rubber becomes more and more brittle. It loses its elasticity. But the other thing that also happens that people don't talk about is that the tire itself loses its rigidity. And again, I'm not a very strong guy, but you can see it's no big deal to move this tire around and just, it's really flexible. Compare that to a brand new tire. This is one that we're going to put on. It still can compress a little bit, but not by much. And look, when you do that, I'm really having to lean on it. So you not only lose grip on the surface, but you also, as the tire wears, your spring rate that's built into the sidewalls and into the carcass of the tire, that goes away as well. And so guess what? Your handling goes off because the spring rate of the tire, the natural spring rate of the tire, it goes away as well. So you're really battling two things, not just the fact that the rubber's getting old. Let's start talking about mounting the tires now. Okay, so one of the things that you need to remember when you're mounting a tire is tires are directional. And it's really hard to see it on video, but there is a mark, it's an arrow that shows the direction that this tire ought to be rolling in. If you notice, on this tire, we've got the Venco logo, and it's on the outside of the tire, of the wheel, right? But on this side, the outside of the wheel has no logo at all. And that's because the directional requirements of the tire would tell you that it's got to be rotating in this direction. And so as a result, this tire here is going to be for the left side of your cart. This tire here is going to be for the right side of your cart based on which way the arrow is pointing. So when you go and mount up a tire or a set of tires, you want to make sure that you got 2 sets of tires that have the logo showing and 2 sets of the tires that have no logo showing. Because otherwise, then you're going to be busting down a set of tires after you realize you've made a mistake. So that's one thing you want to be really mindful of. Okay, so when you go to put the wheel back into the tire, you put it in at a 45-degree angle, and then you just flip it over, and you work it on from there. And it comes right in, okay? Now, again, we're working off of the short side, and so you can see that this is, you know, obviously this side is much deeper than this side, so that's where we're going to work. But we still have to get this tire bead over this rim. And so now we come in and we use the tire scissors again. We slip the disc in, like so. And then we're going to use this side because you can see that it's grooved to fit on the rim. And okay, so we got the disc put in, and the real trick is we've got to go ahead and we put these grooves here on the lip of the wheel. So we're going to mash in like so, get this to line up, put our pin in like so, and we should now be good to go. And so we just take the wheel, rotate it, boom, done. And that is how you mount the wheel. So now what you have to do is you got to go and you got to put your bead locks back in, right? And so you just run them up so that they're a little ways in there, but you don't want them all the way in. So I'm just sliding these in here like that and screwing them in. But the goal, if you can see here, the goal is you just want it flush. You don't want it sticking out. So I'm probably just a little bit too far. So that's just about right. So you do that with all 3. And then the wheel will slide on when you go and pressurize it. And you should be good to go. And once the bead of the tire has set up against the rim, then it's just a matter of running the bead locks back up and you're good. All right, so that's the process then for the bead breaker and the tire scissors. So now I'm going to hand you off to my buddy Brian Mobley. Like I said, Brian is down in Houston. Brian and I go back about 30 years, and I will tell you, Brian is a real Renaissance man. He is into everything, karts, motocross bikes, fitness, you name it, Brian's into it. He's got his own YouTube channel, just Brian Mobley. And if you are not a subscriber to Brian's channel, I highly recommend it. There's all sorts of great material out there. Brian prepares an amazingly clean and well turned out cart. You might say it's just immaculate. And so anything Brian's got on those kind of topics, definitely worth checking out. So Brian, take it away.
Hey guys, it's Brian. I am back in the garage again today. Got a little bit different project than normal. I am also an avid kart racer in addition to being a motocrosser and fitness buff and all kinds of things, but I've been kart racing since the late 1980s, and one of my first friends that I ever made karting was a great guy named Dick Seiler, who at the time lived in my town but now lives in Dallas. But Dick and I have decided to compete against each other to see whose tire changing tool is the better. There are a lot of contraptions out there for changing tires, and frankly, changing tires is something that is so laborious that it will make you think about quit racing. It is awful. So we both have our own tire tools. I'm putting to the test today something called a turbo tire changer, and this tool, it looks pretty cool. I haven't used it yet, but it looks like that it will actually break down the tire and also will be a basis for mounting the tires, supposedly a lot easier. And I gotta tell you, if it works, I'm gonna be super happy. So let's put this thing to the test. First, remove the Schrader valve. Next, loosen the bead locks. Okay, the instructions say to place the tire with the back side facing upward. So use an impact driver and install this bead breaker. Then, spacer, run our nut. that did indeed break the bead. To install a tire, you have to put on this plate. And I don't have the best setup here for this. Definitely the right way is to secure this plate to something, but I don't have anything like that right now, so I'm improvising and using C-clamps. Again, with the wheel facing downward, install it on the plate, center the wheel, install the spacer, secure the wheel. Then, taking these marked levers with the recess here and the bevel edge, put the tire into the crevice and insert lever tool. That was not hard. So that doesn't seem to want to come off. So I'm going to call that a little fake news. I don't know how come it looks so easy in the instructions. So not too bad. All right, so that's off. Spray the bead up a little bit.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a second. Okay, so I'm going to interrupt Brian here for just a minute because here's the thing. Brian competes and oftentimes wins in men's bodybuilding. The guy is really, really strong. And so at the same time, he's struggling to get that tire on that wheel, which kind of makes me feel good about myself because quite frankly, I struggled right there too. And I just figured it was because I was a weakling. I mean, I am a weakling, but that's beside the point. The point is that there's a technique here. It's not brute force. There's a technique for getting that tire onto the wheel. And we don't know what that is yet. We're going to have to figure that one out. And when we do, we'll share it with you and let you know what it is so you don't have to struggle as well. Okay? So with that said, let's get back to Brian.
That was not easy, despite as advertised. Oh, okay, so the levers tilt the wheel, and these have an interesting little groove here that goes into the edge of the wheel rim. Not bad. All right, ready to inflate. Not bad.
Hey Brian, thank you for that demonstration of the turbo tire changer. And for our viewers, I hope this was really helpful. You saw more of the old school way of doing it versus something newer where you're actually using power tools to actually go and make a tire swap. It's something that you need to do on a regular basis because tires wear out. In fact, other than race fuel, I'd say you probably go through tires faster than anything else out there. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that you can see that with the right tools, you can make your life a whole lot easier. Best of luck to you. Don't bust a tooth like I did. We'll talk to you soon.